Welcome to Nerd Narrates, where I pick the best stories from the internet and share them with you. Let's begin the video. We've been married for around 24 years now, and through all these years, my in-laws never fail to create scenes on every occasion with my BIL, husband's brother, being the king of drama. I remember when we were preparing for the wedding, my BIL did not agree on the venue and told us that it was cheap and what would his friends think. The venue he was suggesting cost a hefty amount and did not suit us. My husband had to threaten him that he would not let my BIL attend the wedding, and that made him back off. The second time he got on our nerves was when he announced that he wanted to shift to the upper story of our house. I could not allow that, as it would destroy our privacy, but he kept reminding us that the house belonged to their dad, so he had an equal right to the house. My husband was not ready to allow him at any cost, but my BIL could not get that through his thick head. He involved my FIL, who told us that it was okay if he would live on the upper story, as that would not disturb our life. Being pissed at both of them, I told my husband that I was going to rent an apartment and we could move there, as they could not bear us living in that house. When my husband talked to his dad and told him that we were planning to move out, and my BIL could have the whole house, he told us that he was going to talk to him and we could stay. The issue was resolved, but my BIL kept talking about the situation everywhere, saying that I had him kicked out of his dad's house. My MIL gifted me their heirloom ring on my wedding day, and it was exceptionally precious. When my BIL was getting married, he told my MIL that he wanted that ring for his wife. My MIL told him that they could buy a new one for his wife, but he was not ready to listen. He said that I'd put a spell on the whole family, and that was why they took my side all the time. My BIL visited during those days, and you guys wouldn't believe that he stole that ring. When I could not find it, I informed my husband, and he already knew who had done that. We went to our in-laws' place, and my husband told my FIL that the ring was missing. I thought my BIL would never confess, but he came out of his room saying that the ring was with the one to whom it belonged. My FIL told him that if he did not return the ring, he was going to cancel his wedding, as my FIL was paying for it, and that he would also kick my BIL out of his house. He returned the ring, but as usual, talked about that everywhere. You guys can understand that he had problems with me from the very start. Now the issue is that my BIL's daughter came to our place after her school and then had to go to her tennis classes. She was playing with her racket and ball in the lounge, and I stopped her several times as the ball could hit something delicate, but she did not listen. She hit the ball and it went straight to the TV screen. The picture on the TV got distorted and I was enraged. I rebuked her and told her to leave. I also said that I would never wanted to see her at my place again. She left, and after a couple of hours, CPS was at my door telling me that someone had reported against me. They inquired and then left, and we can all guess who could have reported. I called my BIL and told him what his daughter had done, to which he replied that whatever she had done, I should not have beaten her like that. I told him that he was making things up, as I did not even touch her. He said that I had a problem with him since day one and could not bear the sight of him or his family, and I was taking my grudge out on his daughter. I told him that I'd never stopped his kids from coming to my place and they'd always been welcome. I went on and said that I should have handed her to the cops instead of sending her back to her house, and hung up. I went to the police and filed a report against my BIL's daughter for damaging my property. AITA Update 1. The case got judged, and my BIL and its daughter were able to prove that it was an accident and that she did not mean to damage anything. I knew they'd get away from the case, but it cost them their time and money, and they deserved it. My BIL did not talk to me after that and did not even let his kids come to my place. My husband tried to neutralize things, but my BIL kept saying that his kids were not safe at my place. It is my husband's birthday, and we've planned to throw a huge party. We've invited a lot of people and it's going to be a big gathering. When my husband called my BIL to invite him, he said that he was not coming, as I did not respect him or his family. My husband told him that we both were being kiddish, and he never wanted this war to be over, but now my BIL demands an apology. I've told my husband that it's never gonna happen, and they can miss the party if they want to. Update 2. My FIL stepped in and talked to my BIL, telling him that he was holding a grudge against me since day one and had to act like a grown-up because time had changed. He told them that he was leaving a bad example for the kids and had to accept the invitation. My FIL also visited us and talked to me, telling me that I should have not filed a report against my BIL's daughter. I explained that I was furious as he had sent CPS and they inquired thoroughly. My FIL suggested that we should go to their place and invite them personally. As my FIL left, I told my husband that I had no hard feelings for my BIL and his family, and they were most welcome to the party, but I was not going to go to their place to beg them to come. My husband did not force me and went by himself to invite them. My BIL, of course, accepted the invite and promised to come. Update 3. It was my husband's birthday and everything was going well. All the preparations were on fleek and guests were complimenting every detail. My BIL and his family had arrived and I was just praying that he does not get a chance to create a scene. I did not interact with him just to avoid drama and kept myself busy around my friends. The dinner was served and everyone enjoyed it. Guests were still there for chit-chats when my BIL started yelling that his daughter was missing. My husband approached him and told him that she might be somewhere in the house, but my BIL didn't calm down. I went inside to look for her and followed by other family members as she was nowhere outside. I went to see her in the washrooms and then even went to the upper story, but she was not to be seen anywhere. As we came out after the search, my BIL yelled that I had kidnapped his daughter because I hated her. I was shocked and froze in my place. My husband kept telling him that he was just worried and how could I do that as I was there with everyone else, but my BIL kept yelling that I'd kidnapped his daughter. I told him that we could see the CCTV footage as there were cameras all around our house. My BIL called the cops and informed them about the situation. We were watching the footage when the cops arrived and it showed that my BIL's daughter was picked up by someone from our house. It looked like she was going by her own will, but my MIL kept saying that I'd called someone to take her. The cops took the footage and BIL went to them to file a report. A couple of hours later, my FIL called us and informed us that my BIL's daughter had snuck with her boyfriend for a date and had returned home. This made me furious as they had ruined the whole evening just because my BIL's daughter was not attending the calls. I went to the police station and filed a report against my BIL for trespassing our property and creating havoc. Update 4. My BIL was notified and he was angry. He called my husband and told him that he was worried and had not created a scene intentionally. He also said that I just looked for reasons to visit police stations and get my relatives behind the bars. He also threatened that he was going to file a report against me for defaming me. My FIL also called and told my husband that there was no need to file a case against my BIL as he was worried about his daughter. My husband said he was worried for nothing as we could have never hurt his kids. My FIL also wanted me to drop the case, but I had to teach my BIL a lesson. He was charged with a fine and I guess he deserved that. I hope he stays within his limits if he ever gets to come over. NTA. The whole story seemed like a drama with both the OP and her BIL not willing to give up. It was very clear that BIL was not getting along with the OP and OP could simply avoid him instead of being up for drama. She chose to fight back, which only created more complications, and the other family was always there trying to fix the things. The only a-hole here is the OP's BIL, who was just unstoppable and had the talent to ruin everything. He had serious problems as he could not bear OP and hated her for God knows what reasons. He acted like a typical SIL and would not leave OP alone. The way both of them were always up to drag each other to the cops was funny though. Next story. I am 58, have a son, Gerard, 33, and a daughter, Jackie, 35. About 3 years ago, Gerard's marriage to his then wife, Alice, 32, failed because he had an affair. It was a troubled marriage on both sides, probably wouldn't have lasted much longer anyway. But, be that as it may, I'm embarrassed by Gerard's actions. It was wrong, and there's no justification. Needless to say, they did not part on good terms at all. So, it is good that they do not have children. Before the divorce, they were together for about 10 years. Jackie and Alice were pretty close. Gerard and Jackie haven't spoken much because Jackie has not forgiven Gerard for the affair, and Gerard hasn't tried to patch things up with Jackie because he considers it none of her business. Alice moved back with her family after the divorce in another state, but recently returned. Gerard has been in a relationship with Kylie, 28, for about 2 years and recently got engaged. Kylie was not involved in the affair. Things came to a head this Easter. Normally, I always hosted with my wife before she passed. Our family has never particularly tight-knit, but not contentious either. So, we only really got together for holidays with a handful of extended family. Originally, Jackie and her husband were going to host. However, she told me that she invited Alice and her new man to come. I asked her why she would do that. She said it's because Alice was like a sister to her for years and she has nowhere else to go. I asked her about Gerard and she said that he can come if he wants, but she'd rather have Alice here than him. It got back to Gerard. He and Jackie talked about it and he declined the invitation to do something with Kylie. I called Jackie and told her that I was very disappointed with her decision. What Gerard did was wrong, but the marriage is over and it's time to move on. Jackie then said that Alice was her family and that her decision was final. I told her, if that's how she feels, I can't tell her otherwise. I liked Alice too. If she values Alice over Gerard, she's a big girl and can make that decision, but I chose my son. I then told her that I originally wasn't going to host anything for Easter because I thought she'd host a family dinner where all the family could comfortably attend, but she's not, so I'll host one and invite Gerard and the extended family. I told her that she's of course welcome, so Gerard and Kylie quickly accepted the invitation, as did the extended family who canceled on Jackie. She then blew up on me since I was siding with Gerard over Alice, even though he cheated. I told her that Gerard is not a child for me to discipline anymore, and I can't get involved in his relationships, especially one that ended 3 years ago. Also, a father doesn't abandon his children even if they screw up badly, which she should also be grateful for due to her own reasons, which I will not publicly disclose. Not cheating. Edit. 2 things come up which I should have noted. First, we are Russian American Orthodox. Our Easter is a really big family holiday and closer to what people think of as Christmas. Also, something that keeps coming up that I'm asked about is favoritism. Ironically, I put this together in an attempt to avoid favoritism. Jackie's event was something that nobody could expect Gerard to come to, and Jackie knew he'd never come if Alice was there. So, if I went to Jackie's, I'd be showing favoritism to Jackie by going to an Easter which she wasn't really welcome to. Gerard made some grumblings about putting together an Easter at his house and not inviting Jackie. I told him I would not go to an Easter where Jackie isn't welcome. So me putting together an Easter at my house where everybody was invited was the best I could think of to avoid favoritism. Maybe you'll tell me it wasn't the best idea, but it was the best that I could find. Assuming I understand this right, 100% NTA. You and your wife used to host. Your daughter volunteered to host it with her husband this year, taking over from you. but then invited Alice and said while Gerard could come, she'd rather he wouldn't, so as she was not really carrying forward the tradition as she was effectively excluding her brother/your son, you decided to host after all. YTA for inviting people who had already accepted her invitation. It is good to support your son, but by making everyone else choose sides, you've now hurt your daughter. You could have dinner with just your son and his new girlfriend, and let your daughter have her dinner with the others. In the future, you may have to accept that there may be alternating years for this kind of stuff. Next story. My MIL and FIL had a son when they were younger. They were forced to give him up for adoption by both sets of parents. They remained together, got married, and had more children together. My husband is one of them. We've been together since we were 16, and we share 3 children together. My in-laws never forgot their oldest son and decided to find him after waiting until what would have been his 30th birthday, with him not making contact. It took him 3 years to become open to the idea of meeting them, and COVID meant it took another bit of time for it to happen. They've met. He's a great guy, but he's very clearly isn't looking for the same thing my husband and family are. As someone who's married in and didn't grow up or spend decades with all these hopes and dreams for reconciliation, I feel like I can see it better. I'm sure he, oldest brother, senses it too. What happened for me to ask is that my husband's oldest brother has children. Husbands and family are aware of this. They met a couple of times. He had a birthday party for his oldest child with my family and friends. None of us were invited. It tore my ILs apart, and my husband and his siblings were upset. They didn't understand the lack of invite. They also expressed confusion about the family party wording when they weren't present. This man grew up with 2 parents and 7 siblings. They were all present at this party. My guess is that they are who he was referring to. When it became clear my ILs and husband were all going down this drain of hurt, confusion, and frustration, and maybe even anger, I gently reminded them that he had another family, and that was likely who he meant. My MIL said they all know that, but it doesn't change the fact that they're his family. She said she and FIL were his first family. I suggested she step back and see it from his view. Then came around again to what I'd said about him having another family. 2 of my husband's sisters said they're his family, they're valid, etc. My husband told him to stop ganging up on me. I suspect my words are the beginning of him maybe processing his hopes and dreams versus reality. We ended up leaving, but I'm clearly not my IL's favorite person right now. They all believe I said the wrong thing. AITA? Not only are you NTA, you spoke an insightful truth that they really need to hear. Maybe once the emotion subsides a bit, they'll understand this. This is not a symmetric situation. Your ILs have this long-standing void and are excited that they found him and can fill it. But does he have the same need? It doesn't look like it. He's got the family he grew up with and is content with that. If they don't acknowledge and understand this, they're setting themselves up for failure and hurt. They may even alienate him if they demand more than he wants to give. You're doing the right thing even if they don't want to see it. I don't believe he does have that need, or what's more is, I don't think he has the want/desire/drive that they have for this close family bond. I could be totally wrong, and maybe it's just something he needs to build up to. But I, like you said, they risking alienating him if they push too quickly or for more than he wants to give.